Hey you guys, welcome back to the channel, and I got another recap for you guys. Married at First Sight, Boston, season 14, episode 5 recap. It's not a sure thing, but before we unpack all of this, if you are new here, hit that subscribe button, turn on your notifications. If you like the video, smash the like button, and also feel free to drop a comment down in the comments section below. So we got a lot to unpack. Two people is falling in love. There's a cringy never have I ever moment, and so much more. So without further ado, let's jump into this video. Okay, so first up, we're going to talk about Noe and Steve. Now, they are definitely still in this process deep of getting to know one another. Now, no one can deny that, there's definitely some chemistry between them. Now, although they are getting along well, there are still some obvious differences between them. So, Noe is a planner, whereas Steve is more spontaneous and, he like his adventures. Now, right now, this might not be an issue, but, I can definitely see how this will cause some problems possibly down the road. I think what they would need to do is find a way to compromise. And other than that, this is probably the start of something great. Now, Noe does a little side interview. She reveals that she's starting to fall in love with Steve. Now, she wanted to be transparent, and I guess she decided to put her feelings on the table with him. Now, although he doesn't freak out about it, but her telling him that she's falling for him, his reaction wasn't quite what she expected though. She looked kind of disappointed to me, but he reminds her it's only been 3 days. Technically, that's the truth. It's only been 3 days. So, I know some folks might think, that was a poor reaction on his side, but 3 days is 3 days. I don't know if anybody is going to start falling in love in 3 days. This is married at first sight, but there's got to be progression to move toward building your connection with a perfect stranger. So, the other thing is when you put that out there, you cannot put the expectation on that other person that they're going to reciprocate those same feelings in the same moment that you do. So you're putting a risk out there on yourself if you do that. So even if they don't say that they're there yet and that they could get there, that's more easier to accept. You just can't put that expectation on that other person. So later on at dinner, they got to discuss, that whole situation. She still isn't comfortable with his response to her admitting, that she admitted to him about falling in love. However, Steve explains that, he want to make sure he truly have those feelings before saying them. And I'm totally 100% on that. Love is a strong word. It's not just a feeling. Love is a commitment. So he needs to know that this is something that he's solidly into before actually saying that. And I don't blame him. And, honestly, she should be happy that he was honest about it. Now, if he had just threw it back at her, you would have to wonder whether he's sincere or not, or if he would take it back. So the reality is that, they've only known each other for 3 days. Now, it's definitely easy to get wrapped up in the excitement of a new relationship, but this stuff takes time. And they haven't actually seen the full range of emotions from one another yet. So that remains to be seen. So, hopefully Noe will be able to just go with the flow and allow their feelings to just grow organically. And that's a word that we're going to hear about later from another couple. But let's move to our next couple. So next up, we're going to talk about Michael and Jasmina. So Jasmina is still wearing the statements of his sister on her mind about how he can be negative and tend to overthink things at times. And she believes she's already seeing those things happening in her marriage. Now, Michael attributes all of this to the loss he's experienced in his life because he lost a lot of people over the years. However, he said that, he learned to process things alone and expect the worst at times. Now, Yasmina, however, she's worried about that this is going to be an issue to prevent him from being, I guess, fully in the moment. And I mean, I could see that. Now, she has also a post interview with the production team, and she shares that she and Michael had their first dispute regarding something that was said on the boat with the group. Now, he asked her to apologize for cutting him off while talking. So let's go back to that scene for a minute, because what I remember is that he asked her a question. She answered it and continued to talk about it. It wasn't like he was in mid-sentence and she cut him off. Now that would be rude. That would be disrespectful on either side of that, right? But I remember him asking her something, and I think maybe he thought he was going to get back to finishing what he had to say. But she just carried the answer to the question that he asked her. Either way, let me know what you think about that conversation. However, he says that she cut him off. Now, she was as confused as probably a lot of us about his accusations, and then something about his tone when she didn't feel that she cut him off. Now, we don't hear anything from Michael about the situation, so it's kind of hard to kind of piece the whole puzzle together, of exactly what happened. And then we see later on, Michael decided to plan a romantic dinner to kind of, lighten the mood and ease up some of the tension from the argument earlier. He asked her about her expectations of him as a husband. And what she said is, I need respect. Now, this argument went way left. And based on what we saw, she appears to give her opinion when he stopped talking, which is what I was saying earlier. So then this whole thing come up about how he wanted an apology and she only offered him, I'm sorry you feel that way. Now, I think he was mistaken in regards to the fact that she cut him off, because I didn't see that. On the flip side, that was not an apology. You can't say, I'm sorry you feel that way, because you're putting the accountability on the person that's asking for the apology, not you taking the accountability, right? So if it's coming from you, it should be, I'm sorry, I apologize, ABC, about what I did, whatever. But when you say, I'm sorry you feel that way, you're using their emotional response or reactionary response as if they have to take accountability for their thoughts and their feelings, and it had nothing to do with you. So, honest on both sides, they both were, I would say, mistaken, because that's not an apology, and I really don't think she cut him off. She responded to a question he asked. So it just went way left. I honestly think that she needs to, he has to kind of adjust how he approaches things. I know he's a little pessimistic. She's more optimistic. Somewhere they need to meet in the middle. However, I also think whatever his sister told her, she kind of needs to take that with a grain of salt and then just create her own dynamic within her own relationship with Michael. And I think they could be fine. But we'll have to see. I've seen the next, previews. They're kissing each other. So hopefully they made a little bit of progress and kind of put this behind them. But we'll have to see what happens with this couple. Because I was definitely rooting for them in the beginning. And now I'm having second thoughts. So let's move on to our next couple. Okay, let's talk about this couple. I don't know if we need to waste time, but we're going to talk about it anyway. And that's Alyssa and Chris. So apparently, at the beginning of the episode, they're attempting to spend some time together with one another for the first time during their honeymoon, actually. They did this whole paddleboarding, and they seemed to have a good time until everything started to go downhill real fast. And that's when they started talking on the beach afterwards. So Alyssa claims that she wants to have some peace, despite the experts not doing a good job matching them. In fact, she kind of mentioned seeing a psychic before the experiment, and she was told that the physical characteristics of her husband was this whole thing with this tattoo of an eagle, and none of this resembles Chris. Now, the only thing is, I would say that the mistake that the experts made was allowing this woman to be on the show and to be rude and everything, especially when she realized that she wasn't immediately attracted to him. But it's clear she's not even open to even getting a chance to get to know this man. Now, something interesting popped up on the after party, which was this whole thing with this tattoo and her psychic. So let me kind of break this down. So apparently there was some confusion about a tiger and an eagle. So on air, we heard her say eagle. But on the after party, the conversation, I think, which was between Katina and with Lindsay, is that they heard her say a tiger. There is a cast member on this season that has a big tattoo of a tiger, and that's actually Steve. And they're saying that when his wife, Noe, heard about it, she was crying about it. So I don't know if she got kind of afraid that this psychic was right and that this tattoo, which was on Steve, is actually supposed to be the man that is supposed to be for Alyssa. I hope they're not going there. I don't think so, but it obviously unsettled Noe when she heard all this about the psychic from Alyssa. Check out the after party. They really dropped some tea or whatever drinks that they had on that show. So we're going to cover some more of that later in this particular episode recap that I'm doing with you guys. But I mean, then she has a meltdown. So we're back to Alyssa. She has a meltdown while speaking to the production team because she feels like they're forcing her to spend time, with Chris. She was even upset at her own mom because her mom is like, get to know the dude, be nice to him. But she demanded that they keep him away from her. I mean, she was freaking out. It seems like this type of behavior kind of, is emotionally abusive. I mean, why sign up to marry a stranger if you're going to treat this whole experience like you're on a date now? I mean, at this point, just send the girl home. Don't continue to let this man get his feelings hurt. He's taking it in stride. He ain't, he's disappointed, but he's not like freaking out. But, the way that she's, treating this guy is just absolutely disgusting. And then she said they making her look, making her look like the bad person. You're doing that all by yourself, girlfriend. So, I don't know. I don't think we're going to probably see too much more of them. I don't, from what I hear, we'll have to see. But hopefully too bad they can't give Chris a do-over. But unfortunately, it ain't working with these two. So let's talk about somebody else. Let's go to our next couple. Okay, let's talk about Lindsay and Mark. So they started off their day by making some pina coladas while they get to know each other. During their conversation, he begins to share more about his difficult past in his relationship. It seems that he's this people pleaser that nurtures everyone, but rarely gets it back in return. It's never hardly reciprocated. His wife, on the other hand, admits that she has a long line of engineers in her dating past, and these two are definitely different. I mean, I don't know, their energy isn't matched, but I'm wondering if everything else is not. So let's talk about this group outing. So Mark tells the guys that there's been several issues that have been red flags for him. Now, I don't know if he had this conversation with Lindsay directly in this same manner, but, he wants her to calm down a bit. And meanwhile, she's having a conversation with the other women as well who, she feels her husband is perfect for her and that she actually loves him. So, okay. Well, things get a little crazy when the topic of her disagreement with Olajuwon comes up once again. Katina gets very, very upset. And so, we saw the whole thing where Katina gets up, and she goes off, and she walks away. Now, here's the thing. I know some people is thinking that she's doing too much. She's taking this thing and trying to stand up for him a little bit too seriously. But as I mentioned, as a lot of you know, if you watched the after party last week, what we saw on episode 4 and what was on the after party were two different stories. We got that there was this whole language situation, right? About everything about, oh, you need to speak the language that's native to where we are. And then they want 2 separate buses. And then we get a camera in front of Lindsay's face where she's playing the victim, where it's like, he postured at me and he wanted to fight me and it seemed so aggressive and, I was uncomfortable, all the little buzzwords, right? Which she was upset. So, of course, if they don't give you full context, then folks are going to be like, well, why is Katina going off? Well, as I mentioned in my previous recap, and as some of you guys probably saw in the after party clip, the situation is that the language thing was just one part of it. She was also teasing him about his shoes. They sat behind him, meaning Lindsay sat behind Olajuwon when they were on airplane, and she kept instigating and poking at him and doing things so much so that the airline workers had to calm her down and everything. And so it actually led into something interesting in this after party episode that just aired last night. And I'm going to let you guys listen to this clip because I will say this much. Katina and Keisha Knight Pulliam definitely took Lindsay to school about her, as some people would call it, Karenish behavior. Check this out.
You say, I want to fight him. So because you came from my husband is a black man. You're a white woman. Mm-hmm. As soon as I hear I want to fight him, it's not his job anymore. I'm going to step in place for him.
Can I jump in here and give you some cultural context? And this isn't taking sides. I just want you to understand there's some things in this world that unless you're a black woman, that you can't understand because you haven't had that experience.
I'm very aware.
So there's certain things that if you say, especially in a crowded place, that can create a situation that could potentially put a black man in harm by doing it. And so I think that's the piece that Katina isn't saying. That's the underlying issue with this. So do you feel where you are now that there is a way for you guys to get back to a good place despite all that has happened?
As of right now, I just need to take my time and just, keep my distance a little.
So there you have it. So for those that feel like she's doing too much and she's taking this too seriously and this is BS and, they've apologized already, let it go. That's why. So I wanted to give context to everything that I put out there because I've seen some of the comments from, from folks who are, having these responses. That's why Katina is doing or responding or reacting to what has happened. So let's talk about these two and what happened later that evening. So they had a little romantic dinner and Mark put this together and she was excited about it. However, he voices some concerns to Lindsay. So he decided that he wanted to move slowly and not rush an already accelerated process, moving organically, I think he said. And by the look on her face, she wasn't feeling that because remember earlier she told the other girls that she loved this man, right? So she did ask him for clarity, and he says that he doesn't want to be too lovey-dovey. Okay. Well, Lindsay didn't take this news well at all, and she shared on air all the things that he should stop doing. Everything from bathroom issues and everything else in front of her, like clogging up the toilet, farting in front of her. And so she feels blindsided. She storms off. I don't know what they're going to do from here. We'll have to see. But when they got back to the hotel, Lindsay is still furious with him that Mark, chose this romantic date to say all of these things. Now, Apparently, he had been very complimentary of her and their relationship all day until that evening. And according to what she said on the after party, they actually slept together 3 times that day, even right up to right before they got to this little romantic date. So, yeah, she definitely feeling some kind of way. Some folks, they might feel bad for Lindsay, but I mean, the thing is, a lot of this stuff, it's what she says, is how she, responds to other people. Now, there are some people that are not feeling what Mark had to say. It's like, okay, you've been sexually active with this woman, but then you want to pull the brakes on the emotion. I just think how he displayed what he said was different, because, I mean, you could have said the same thing about Steve. Steve is like, I understand that you got feelings for me, but we need to take this slow. And the way that Mark came off, Lindsay didn't like it. So it was a little bit different. So let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with Lindsay? Do you agree with Mark? Who was in the right or the wrong? Were they both wrong? Were they both right? You see both sides. Let me know what you think about this. So we got one other couple to talk about it. So let's get to it. So last but not least, we got Olajuwon and Tina. So they started off the episode with Olajuwon failing in his cuddling skills. She even recommended big spoon and little spoon. So apparently there's another issue though. He has a sweating problem that prevents them from enjoying any type of affection throughout the night. Yikes. Because that can be real. I've dated in my past somebody like that, and it's nothing nice. I guess you just have to figure out a way where, she was saying he get, I think, some type of injections or something. But anywho, so later he decides to take Katina to the gym so he can share his love of working out. Now, it's like she works out as well, but obviously their workout regimen is definitely different, because instead of fun and a no pressure experience, he acts pretty much like he's a personal trainer and boot camp instructor. Now, I know some folks would have probably walked out and left him there, but she stuck with it. Now, the interesting thing about that is that he mentioned to the guys that because she spoke up, he really appreciated that about her. So I don't know if I'm a fan of testing your partner to see what reactions you may get. But in this case, because she, said some things and kind of put up a little bit of some boundaries, even though she worked through the workout session, he was pleased to say that she spoke up for herself. So I wanted to mention that. Now, let's talk about this cringy game of Never Have I Ever that they did with all of the couples. So Olajuwon pretty much shocked the group with some stuff in his past. Now, some people thought he was bragging about this. Now, he said, because when that question came out, has anybody ever done a threesome? He said he did not. Now, he did say if Katina presented it to him, he would not deny her. So I want to make sure I get that clear, because people went straight to, oh, he want Katina to do a threesome. No, that's not what the question was and how he answered it. Second thing is this whole thing about the mom and the daughter. So let's talk about that, because that definitely shocked some folks that he said, I actually in my past slept with the mother and a daughter. I have heard of things like that from people, but one thing, you got to check out the after party, because they all talked about that too. And the responses from Katina and Keisha and Steve and even Lindsay was very, very carefree. Even they got Olajuwon on the phone. And, I don't want to take everything away from the after party, because I want you guys to go and see it for yourself. But one of the things that he mentioned is that both mom and daughter end up knowing about each other. And at the end of it all, they actually called him and graded him on his skills and how well he did with the both of them. So, for those that are, trying to judge an accountability for his path, look like the mom and the daughter were okay with it as well. Hey, it's not my thing. I'm not going to judge, but, I like to pull it straight down the middle. I want everybody to see everything and hear all of the conversations. So, apparently, this didn't turn out to be some type of cheating with the mom against the daughter or nothing. They knew about it and they actually graded him. And yeah, it was interesting. So go over there and check that out on the after party. But I know people on the boat was cringing. Some of the fans were cringing. Here's the interesting thing about these threesomes. Even though, I've never done it, nor do I want to do it. However, it's pretty common. I mean, TV shows, I don't know if you guys watch Sisters. For those that watched it, you know the whole thing with Andy, Robin, and the person that they brought in. It's becoming on certain shows. And even AJ Johnson, the actress, she just put out the other day that for her 50th birthday, she had a threesome with 2 other guys. So people are doing it. We're in 2022. People are choosing to live their lives the way they want to because it's their life and their choice. All I'm concerned about is what Olajuwon do from this point forward. I don't care about his past, as long as he don't bring that into his future with his current wife. And the fact that Tina does not judge him, because she also has a past too, because I think last week she said she had an F buddy. So she's not judging him. She's standing up for him. She supports him. I want to see what happens moving forward and after the season. So I'm looking forward to that. So that's all for our couples this week in episode number 5. Let me know your thoughts. Sound off in the comment section. And until the next video, like, comment, and subscribe. And we will see you soon. Bye.